Good morning. It's 9 o'clock on a Wednesday morning, and I'm here back with Norma Talks Metaphysics. Well, some often happens. You don't always have a concept or a title right in your mind. So, what I did yesterday when I was thinking about, okay, what are we going to talk about this Wednesday? I went to the tarot cards, said, okay, what am I going to talk about tomorrow? And I put out 3 cards, and I've got a topic. And that topic is about worrying and what you do when you get into the worry state. I am sure anyone who is watching this at some point of time have had worry thoughts. Now, what are they? What are worry thoughts? Worry thoughts are when you cannot see the end result that you want, or that you worry something is going to happen that hasn't happened yet, may happen, may never happen. So what happens, can even get obsessive worry thoughts where the same thoughts go round and round and round and round. Excuse me. So instead of finding a solution to the worry or the issue or the problem or whichever way it is working, excuse me a second here. Obviously didn't get everything all wetted up before I began. That happens. Because I was thinking about how I was going to approach this and how I was going to say what I was going to do with this. Plus, I think a spider bit my leg in the shower this morning. All of a sudden, I had this very sharp pain. And when I got out and looked at my leg, a sort of a red spot that's very sore. So I think and as I saw a spider in the bathroom the other day and it skidded away and I couldn't catch it, I think that's what's happened. But I couldn't see the spider after. So something unexpected jabbed me in the leg. And I was like, oh no, that's enough. I've had enough of all this, one thing after the other. Anyway, I'm going to show you the symbol that talks about worry. And that is the 10 of Wands. Wands have to do with thoughts. Now, I want you to look closely at this card as the man in the man, woman, doesn't matter. It's, human being. Look how he's carrying those 10 wands. You cannot see where he's going. He's carrying it very, very difficultly. If he was to take the wands and make them and put them on his shoulder, I've got him. I can hold him with this hand maybe. Yeah, but then I'm on the wrong side of it. Anyway, forget it. You saw the picture. My arm's getting x-rayed next week, so we'll be able to really figure out what they're going to do with this arm of mine, get the shoulder working. Anyway, no use worrying about it, right? You just deal with what you got. But you can see when you've got all your thoughts going on and that's all you can see and you're carrying them not very well, instead of bundling them and maybe still carrying them, but carrying somebody on your shoulder or packed together, or better yet, lay them down and just wait and see and keep your eye on the prize of where you're going. It's always an interesting element as to how you handle your thinking. So we're going to talk a bit about thoughts for a moment. You're thinking all the time, even when you're not aware of it, down in the subconscious, coming out of the subconscious, different thoughts at different times of what it's saying, what it's doing. And if you're not cognizant of your goals or how you want to feel or how you want to maintain your life within your life, what is it that you want specifically? Sometimes what begins to happen, all these other thoughts get in the way so that you create what we call worry thoughts or obsessive thoughts or anything where you're getting so like this you cannot see. When you cannot see, that really means that you have a problem more than you realize. Because what happens, life moves along, whether you move along with it or not. Situations will change, situations will happen, but I have found, and even myself, many years ago, I would get obsessed with a thought that kept coming back and coming back and coming back. And that's when I learned myself this freeze, evaporate, and replace when I had a thought that I didn't want or didn't fit in with the vibration of where I wanted to go. Now that takes a diligence, which means for me was sitting back and watching my thoughts go across my, you might say, the screen, watching them go across my screen. And it's not something I do every second of every day. That is not what, because then you become obsessive about that. But what you do is you create a little bit of time just to sit back without judgment and watch your thinking and become aware of your pattern of thinking. And especially if you have a specific goal, you kind of contemplate there's the goal, and you just sit and watch what your mind's thinking about it. Is it achieving it? Is it allowing it? I talked the other day about the importance of asking for what you want specifically. Asking the force what you want, and then letting it go. You don't bug it. You don't concern it. You wait for it. And when it doesn't show up, then you go back and take a look at where you're coming from in relation to that. So all those things become really, really important in the direction of where you're heading and where you're going. But if you're like this and you cannot see where you're going, and you're just your basic thoughts are tripping you up, because they'll trip you up. Now, just to show you this again, one of the things you'll notice in the background, I liked it over this way, that's right, is there is a house there. That's your goal. That's where you're hitting. But you see, this man's quite close, but he can't see it because he's just so involved in the thinking process where nothing is going. Actually, there's more symbolism in there if you were a tarot reader, but we won't worry about that part. It's just a matter of knowing that when you are not open and your thoughts are not allowing newness in, because the energy, what I call the loving force energy, will give you new thoughts. They'll give you new ideas. They'll give you new awarenesses that come in. And so you want that. So what do? Of course, I went to my second card. This is, I always get their sides wrong. Apologies. This is the Eight of Pentacles. Now, the Eight of Pentacles are always the material affairs. That's where you work. That's where you get things done. That's your money stuff, all of that. Because ideas are not, that's often what creates the problems. And so because the ideas are there, but they're not streamlined, which they need to be. Here, this man is the worker. He's working away at his trade in order to do what he wants to do. He's working away solidly, completely, and he's displaying his goods because he's a workman. He's a craftsman. He's as if in the very background of this card, you might say, symbol's a better word. I like that better, is the town. And so he's here doing his craft, putting that, displaying his goods, displaying what he wants. I'm just going to put that down. There is an element of this, of clarity, because he's got to be concentrating on what he's wanting to create. And that's one of the things I find when we're goal setting, or we're looking at what we're wanting to create and what we're wanting to do and how we're wanting to achieve that, is that we need to have a clear plan of basic steps, but with versatility for changes that happen, things that crop up. That we don't go back into worrying about it. We just keep diligently going on because we know the end result. See, what happens with us off when we're goal setting, we don't know the end result. We know this is what we want, and that's okay because that gives a pattern. But life moves along. Life isn't stagnant ever. So consequently, this here in the Eight of Pentacles, the craftsman is working and creating. He's completed some things. He's working away on one now. So this again, if we're going to equate this back to goals, is that you work away with the goals that you've got. You may say, I always say in the new year, I always make my goals for the year. In fact, I mentioned I think it was, I don't know when it was, maybe Monday night I was talking about it. I went and reread my goals. They're in the front of my day book. And, mostly I don't look at them because I'm busy with what's today, what's tomorrow, what's the next day. But when you look at your goals again, you go, oh, okay, that hasn't come into alignment yet, or Maybe I've changed and I don't want that goal anymore, which is perfectly, believe me, perfectly welcomed, because sometimes you got to go, I wanted that back in January, but life has changed enough now that I can let that go. And if it comes, it comes, but it's probably not in alignment with where I'm heading, because hopefully we grow. And in the growing phase, in the essence of phase of where we're heading. And this was the third symbol that came up. This surprised, first of all, it surprised me because I thought, okay, how am I going to kind of link this together? And that is the Knight of Wands. The wand symbols not are your thoughts, yes, but all the court cards to me are your basic attitudes to life. This guy wants to get going. He's not going to sit around and worry like this one. He's going to be on the action, so he's going to be going ahead, putting his ideas out. His horse is well commanded. There's lots of good things about this knight I really, really like. And people who achieve very often will, when I'm having readings with them, they'll have this symbol around because they have things in hand, but they know that they're moving forward and they're progressing in the way of where we're going. So if you have an idea of what you're wanting to create and you're not getting bogged down with all this, how am I going to do it? How's it going to happen? What if it doesn't happen? What am I going to do? And sometimes someone can just give you a thought, or they'll say a statement. You can be out with friends, make a statement, and it'll trigger your insecurities inside. It could be personal. I mean, I was very insecure when I was young. But once sometimes I'm still insecure, but not like I was when I was young. And I was studying it. I was, wouldn't make phone calls, which made me realize last Wednesday, the first of the month, there was a fire alarm went off early here because they practice the first Wednesday of every month to make sure it works. And they usually don't have it till later in the morning. So I'm done, clear. And I went, okay, I'm going to phone them and find out when it's going to do it next Wednesday. Because not only did it drive me out of my head, I'm sure anybody was watching because it came out of nowhere. And I realized this morning when I sat down, I hadn't phoned yet. Well, I had quite a few things happen, but that's an excuse. I knew I had to phone. So today, or tomorrow for sure, I need to phone to find out what the plan is. Is there a plan for running it at 9:30 instead of 10:30, 11 when I'm well done? So that is like action, because, okay, you've got three symbols here. One is carrying the burden and can't see for looking. One is working away at creating what they're wanting to create. And the other one is an attitude of always moving ahead and being clear and not going too fast. Because if you had the Knight of Swords sitting here, then they go too fast, and then that puts you back into the worry mode for sure, because it's not going to work. What I found is over time is that life moves at a fairly smooth pace normally, except when all heck breaks loose and everybody goes into crazy mode. But even then, there is a pulse. The earth has its own pulse, and it's very, very slow. When I have gone down to talk to the Earth Mother, that's another story for another day, but I do that. Every now and again, I go down to talk to the Earth Mother, because up here, now above the earth, all these things coming in that this is going to happen and that's going to happen and blah, blah, blah. So I take time and go down and have a conversation with the Earth Mother herself to find this resolution or what her perception is, etc. And I'll tell you, it is so slow. It's such a deep, slow energy. I'm going to clap my hands a little bit here to kind of get, and even then I might be a bit too fast. It's like you have to slow everything down until we're down, way down here in this mode. Now, most people's thinking is in this mode. So this is one thing you can observe for yourself. Where are you in your thinking process? I used to be one of these. Fast, 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 fast. And age, but as I got older and wanting to make contact with the earth, wanting to make contact with my guides, I had to slow down. I had to slow everything down to a very slow rhythm so that I could reach where they were. Otherwise, what they're doing is trying to get in to you, and it's sometimes hard for them to do that. So it's like learning how to be on that pace. I have a friend who has her angels, as she calls them, talk to her all the time, and that has to be because her pace matches them. Otherwise, there would be miscommunication. I still tend to go a little fast. I have a very fast working brain, always has. And so it's like slowing it down. And when I want to really contact, you might say, the other world, I have to slow down. I have to put everything aside and just slow down and allow new thoughts, new things to come in, awarenesses, things that give me faith and process, and goodness knows. Otherwise, what I'm doing, even though I may not realize it, is this constant movement in the mental, not looking, not listening, not hearing. Took me years to learn that. And if one of you out there that listens to this gets it and just spends a little bit of time being quiet in your mind and beginning to think I'm going to use the word positive. I don't really like to say that word that much, but I will here. To see yourself as a result of what you're really wanting, but in a quiet, easy way, not panic, not, oh my goodness, what about this? What about that? This may happen, that may happen. That's the worry. That's trying to manipulate life. We can manipulate it, yes, but we can manipulate it in a whole different way where the energies, like the Knight of Wands suggests, is going to come to you. You're going to go towards it. It's going to bring it to you. Sometimes you have to be patient. Yes, and patience isn't always easy, but that's where the Eight of Pentacles comes in. You just do your work slow, methodically. You get your thinking right. For those of you that meditate or any kind of meditation, you do that because it slows everything down. And some people say, oh, I can't meditate, and my mind just goes racing. That's because your mind is undisciplined. Do you like a child running around is undisciplined? I don't think so. We've all seen them. Hell raisers. Makes it uncomfortable for any group that's around. What you do is you begin to tame your mind to be able to concentrate quietly, gently, easily, and allow any thoughts that are going to be given, any inspirations that are going to be given. And it's like, as I say, when I go down to speak to the Earth Mother, I have to slow everything down. And she's always complied. When I go in to that state where they are, it's deep down in the earth, actually, I get the answers I've wanted many times. Very unusual answers sometimes, but very clear. And so it's like you have an opportunity to be able to do things. But believe me, if you have a fast moving mind, if you worry about everything because you've got to do this and you've got to do that, you see, worry isn't always just, it's not going to work. It's like there's just too much in there, many things that you have to do. That's when I began to make lists. I never made lists. But when I began to get really busy running the business, running the kids, running this, running that, I began to become very timely, yes, which I've talked about, but also I began lists. Keep me on track. So I would know this has to get done, then that has to get done, and the other has to get done. And it wasn't like not everything was always done that way, but it was there as a reminder that this is the way we're heading. And it reminded me this morning, and that's why I made myself a little phone about the fire drill. So I hadn't done that. I put it in here, but then it had gone away with everything daily that goes on. So life is such a fascinating thing because you never know what's happening, number one. So you have to have a little bit of variety in there, a little bit of easy, be able to be flexible is the word. And as you're flexible, you keep your goals in mind of where you're heading and what you're wanting to create. And the more you can visualize what it is you want to create, is to make sure that everything is in line with that, and that your mind isn't getting in the way because it wants it this way or that way or the other way. I've had many miracles happen in my life that come out of nowhere because my life needed it. And sometimes I wasn't even aware of that, but it would show up because I might have had a little thought about, what am I going to do here? Then the answer comes. You are a conduit into the greatness of all that is available for you. So you've got to get your mind out of the way. And so if you have a busy mind, if you have a worrying mind, if you have a mind that wants to figure everything out, often you're blocking achieving what it is you really, really want. I wish you well figuring it out. Remember the freeze, evaporate, replace. I talk about that often because that was the one thing that helped me to clean up my subconscious thinking, to get it clean and pretty direct. I now check, do I want to do this? Do I not want to do this? Sometimes I still do things I maybe don't want to do, but there'll be other variations on that, other reasons why I do that. Lots of things that you want. It's like clean up your brain, get your brain working for you so that you can reap the rewards, because you will. Slow and sure. If you get into racing mode mentally, it's a worry mind. I call it a worry mind. It's a busy mind. It doesn't take things in. It just worries about how it's going to be and why isn't it the way you want it. It's not going to achieve. So I wish you well. And I trust that you will be tuning in on, where are we now? Well, Sunday will be the next day for a Sunday thought. And then on Monday night, mental mind treatments. I have been reminded to ask people to do thumbs up. I'm always behind the 8 ball sometimes, but put thumbs up. I've been thanking you. And Karen, thank you so much for your comment this morning. I appreciate that. And I wish you well. Have a great, happy day. It's still sunshiny and hot where I am. And I'm so glad I have a cooler in here that keeps my place cool enough. Oh, I keep it as cool enough. I don't keep it really cold. So that life goes on very, very well. And trustingly, whatever the spider bite was this morning on my leg, I think that's what it is because it just stung. I don't know anything else that stings like that, will just dissipate. So wish you well. I'll see you on Sunday morning, 9 o'clock. Bye now. Have a good day.